Harry Houdini, you all know the name. The entertainer, the showman, the magician, the escape artist, the seance and medium investigator. That's right, he tracked down mediums and seance hosts and exposed them to be fake. But he also used this in his shows and performances. He used to do that very thing, seance and mediumship. Houdini in his early days had acts that involved his wife, Bess, being a medium who could contact our friends and ancestors from the other side, Houdini would claim. Bess, dressed in a wedding dress, who had come to the stage and after being seated by Houdini would go into a trance that would take her to the spirit realm where she could talk to the dead. Houdini would ask her questions. Who had she met? Who was she talking to? And Bess would reply that she was with people from the other side who wanted to talk to people on this side, the living realm. And so she and her husband were able to convince the audience that their late ancestors were there waiting to give messages to them. Houdini named this part of his act the spookist. Mediumship and seances were, they were a big thing in those days. People used to have parties round them. People wanted to contact their much-missed friends, their much-missed family members, and the much-missed lovers who are now all dead, yet living in the spiritual world. Houdini began to think that all mediums were fraudsters who played on people's emotions, their hopes and their dreams, and being a trickster in entertainment himself, Houdini knew how to spot a fraud. He would don a wig, thick glasses, and using the name Mr. F. Raud, spelt F, initial, R-A-U-D. So what does that spell, peoples? Anyway, as Mr. F. Raud, he would attend seance parties or visit upon mediums who were giving a demonstration of their mediumship. Now, can you imagine the scene? A medium has opened her sitting room, invited paying guests, and attempts to contact the dead through her mediumistic ability. She puts on a good show, with the room in darkness and strange happenings occurring, perhaps raps on a table or a disembodied voice, perhaps even a materialization of a deceased appearing in spirit form. Everybody is in trance, but then, just after the lights have come back on, one of the guests, the Mr. F. Raud, who had been so insistent that he must attend her group as he had heard so much about her, he suddenly jumps up, whips off his disguise, and reveals himself to be the famous Harry Houdini, who then accuses her of fraud. He would then reveal the tricks that she had used in fooling everyone with her con artistry. Houdini saw that most of the people in this trade who self-proclaimed themselves to be miracle workers were in fact charlatans who played the vulnerable. "Only I can expose these vermin," Houdini told reporters. These incidents Houdini wrote about in his book A Magician Among the Spirits, of which he gave a copy to his on-off friend Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, and a man who believed in and attended spiritualism services. Conan Doyle wrote on the cover of his book on the cover of his copy of Houdini's book, a malicious book full of every sort of misrepresentation. So it probably had a little bit of a troublesome moment in their friendship. Houdini went on to conduct his own series of seances in which he attempted to contact his late mother, Cecilia. His mother's death made him re-examine his belief in life after death. He refused to believe that she had died, and instead, as he wrote in a letter to his wife Bess, believed that his mother had gone on ahead. He would often visit her and his father's graves in New York City, and there were reports that he was seen talking to the air as if somebody was there that he was conversing with, but no physical other was seen, and one assumes that he was going to them graves and talking to his dead mother and perhaps his dead father. Was he seeing their ghosts? Was he seeing their spirit forms? Or was he able to see into the spirit realm? And these are things that quite fascinate me, really. What was it that Houdini was able to do? Because I don't think he was a fraud. I don't think, well, obviously in the beginning when he was doing his shows, he was doing it to entertain and to trick people, but maybe later on he started to be able to perhaps speak to spirit himself. So Houdini, he was fascinated by death, both on stage and off. He performed death-defying stunts for entertainment, and the training for that must have been incredibly intense. He knew that he had to understand what death was because he faced it every time he performed one of these feats. So I suppose really what he wanted to do was to understand, well, he says, the mechanics of death, as he called it. When he had his brother exhumed so that he could move him to the family plot, he inspected the body and stated that Herman's teeth were still in good condition. So he had no fear of looking at other people that were dead, or looking at, because some people find that quite difficult, to look upon a dead person. He was intrigued by it, and as I was saying, he's having to face it all the time through his tricks and performances that he had to put on. But Houdini himself went on ahead, as he said about his mother, on October the 31st, 1926, which, spookily enough, was Halloween. It was an unfortunate accident that caused his death, a ruptured appendix after being punched in the gut by a fan. So Houdini went on to perform his last show that Halloween evening, but he collapsed after the performance and died. He had defied death so many times throughout his life that when death did finally come for him, many refused to believe it. One would like to think that he rests in peace, but he is one of the most popular requests at spiritualist tables around the world. People are always trying to conjure him up. But the day I've made this video, or published this video, is actually his birth date, the 24th of March. And I hope that Houdini may live on forever.